Hello and welcome back to JimMurphyMP.com on a rainy Glasgow afternoon. Obviously all the news this week has been about the terrible murder of Fiona Bone and Nicola Hughes, the two police officers in Greater Manchester. And while I'm not going to comment on the detail of the case, because obviously that was part of an in-depth legal inquiry, the whole country is sickened by the loss of their life, and I send the sympathies to their family and loved ones. But it started a debate which I think started a bit unseemly quickly, almost immediately after the news broke about arming the police in capital punishment. And on the basis of that debate started, I thought I'd reflect on my own views, and that I understand the kind of anger and the sense of revenge that moves people to support something must be done, let's bring back capital punishment. But in reflection, I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think that capital punishment satisfies that animal instinct of revenge, and for those who are affected, that's a perfectly legitimate and understandable emotion, but it's not the way in which you can set the laws of the land. And so if you look at the evidence on capital punishment, look at the states in America, those states that have capital punishment and those states that don't have capital punishment, the murder rate based on the studies is actually higher in those American states where they have capital punishment. So there doesn't seem to be that deterrent effect in the United States of America that is celebrated and talked about. Set aside for a moment whether the state has the right to execute someone through a judicial process, and settle instead on whether it's a foolproof process. And I don't think it is. We've got horrible examples in the UK of the Guildford 4 and the Birmingham 6, and yes, of course, technology has moved on and DNA evidence is much stronger and is often irrefutable. But even in the countries where they have capital punishment, where there's fantastic DNA evidence, really dreadful mistakes are still made. And while, of course, in the US, so many people in death row profess their innocence because there are very few people who acknowledge their guilt in death row, a number of those people are found to be innocent, and all too many are found to be innocent after they're executed. And that is a dreadful way to organise a judicial process, that there cannot be a time to reflect, and that people can't appeal because, in fact, they are being executed by the state. I much prefer our system. It doesn't satisfy that emotion and visceral determination for revenge, but it does give the chance for, if evidence is later disclosed or testimonies have been falsified, that indeed the person can be released. So I think that even though the country is hurting at the moment, and Manchester in particular is in pain, I don't think a leap towards reintroduction of capital punishment is the right thing. And as Lord Tebbit has called it, I think the deterrent effect of the long shadow of the gallows, I don't think it's the right way to do it. Then it gets to a discussion about arming the police, and a much shorter thought on this is that 82% of the police in a Police Federation survey said they didn't want to routinely rearm the police. Now, we have armed police when it's necessary in our country. Indeed, just a couple of miles away in East Kilbride is the police training firing range for those firearms officers that are necessary to deal with the most difficult and dangerous circumstance. But I don't think we should have a routine arming of the police, because it's not a kind of great emotional argument, just a practical argument. If all of our police officers are armed, it would, I think, lead to a low-level arms race whereby more of the criminals would be armed, and it would make our streets more dangerous, not more safe. So on reflection, while the emotions are still very raw, I think now is the time to ask some of the bigger questions, of course, about the role of police in our society. And on the back of such an outpour of anger against some police on the back of the Hillsborough cover-up, it's important that we remember the vast majority of our police officers are brilliant and they are brave. These two police officers have paid a terrible price, and their families have lost forever. But it's not the time to lurch to policy prognoses of arming the police and capital punishment that are wrong and wouldn't work. That's all for just now. Get in touch by email, by Twitter, on Facebook, or as usual, go to the post office, buy a stamp and write to me to the House of Commons. Cheerio.